The sound of sirens were potent in the air as they urgently warned people to take cover as a tornado that would go down in the first record books for damage over $1 billion by a single tornado, the fastest winds ever recorded at 318 miles an hour. 20 years later, it still gives me chills upon how this storm was so incredible. For this documentary by Cody Ethos Productions and Storm Spotter Joshua Lawrence, this is the 20th year documentary of the May 3rd, 1999 Moore, Oklahoma tornado. On the day of May 3rd, 1999, the National Weather Service, along with SPC and NSSL, were issuing a high probability for long to severe track of very damaging violent tornadoes along for central Oklahoma, for the southern part of Kansas, northern part of Texas. With this possibility, only one thing was for sure: a long day ahead. At around 6:25 in the evening, National Weather Service, along with emergency management dispatchers, were receiving multiple reports of a large damaging tornado outside Amber, Oklahoma. The tornado began its northeast track into the small town of Bridge Creek. The town would not have seen its mercy as it unleashed its fury upon the town. As the tornado entered into Bridge Creek, no one was safe. Trailer parks were virtually gone, with the trailers not even recognizable to the frame. Houses were leveled. People were missing and scared. Gas leaks were among the fumes that were building. All hell was breaking loose in Bridge Creek, and yet the tornado was just warming up. As chasers were chasing the storm, one such storm chaser by the name of Joshua Warren was there chasing in his truck, Dow on wheels. Dow's purpose was to collect data on the storm, and what he found was simply astonishing. 318-mile-an-hour winds were recorded, which landed him and his team in the Guinness Book of Records. During the storm's march towards Moore, the tornado began spouting satellite tornadoes, which are separate tornadoes that carousel around the main tornado. Even though these are different tornadoes that were spouted, this was a very dangerous position for the spotters and chasers as they had to dodge multiple satellite tornadoes. As the tornado began its march into the outskirts of Moore, weather forecasters predicted and warned people for over 45 minutes with helicopters and fantastic radar that shone the clear hook of the storm. As the tornado began its move inside, people without basements were basically vulnerable to the sheer force of the winds. Even though they had this amount of warning, they did not heed the power of the storm itself. With all the preparedness that they had, Moore's time was up. The hour upon reckoning was upon them. The tornado began its ugly march into this town, and with astonishing swiftness was basically hell for Moore, as it was for Bridge Creek and Amber. As the tornado passed, silence fell upon the town of Moore. The stern howls of sirens, along with people screaming, yelling if they could hear anybody else trapped in rubble. Some were screaming, some were not. The final death toll account was about 45 people that were mostly the majority in the city of Moore, along with Bridge Creek and other places as Newcastle and all. Unfortunately, due to the lack of access from the amount of debris that the tornado produced, emergency personnel had a hard time trying to access the most hard-hit areas. At Bridge Creek, only one medic from the AMSA paramedic services was there to triage and was very, very well overwhelmed on the amount of injured and dead. A sudden morgue was created. Triage from AMSA was all immediately began, with this carnage. 45 people died as the result of this tornado. $1 billion was recorded, being the first tornado to recorded to make that such damage by a single solitary tornado. As Moore began its cleanup, they took a very good lesson upon this. Unfortunately, on the 20th of May 2013, Moore would not see the shed of forgiveness. Instead, they will relive the horror that killed 6 children in a school, which will be in the next documentary following this month. From Code Ethos Productions, this is Stormspire Joshua Lawrence reporting. Your local forecast is next.